Hey everybody, Daisy here with you tonight, and we're going to talk about a TV show I really loved. Um, Now, I know a lot of you will like this one, and I definitely did. It was Star Trek The Next Generation. I know, I'm not really breaking deep ground into something that no one's ever heard about. I'm not calling out some obscure TV series from the 90s that was on Thursdays or something at 9 p.m. No, I'm in Star Trek. The most commonly remembered one at this point, Next Generation. So, um, I didn't start into it right away because, well, my parents didn't really watch that kind of stuff. And I didn't really go to visit any other friends, so I didn't see what my friends were watching on TV. So, I didn't really have exposure to Next Generation when it first started. In fact, it was about season 5 almost, I think, when I just happened to be in the house, flicked on that channel, and I saw Borg. I saw Borg. I liked that. That was pretty cool. I was sold right away. um, in fact, it was a season finale when I popped in. Unfortunately. Fortunately and unfortunately. Fortunately that it got me hooked on the show immediately. Unfortunately because it was first airing of it, which meant I had like months to go before I saw the second half of this episode because it was a two-parter. Um, Now it was not the one with Locutus aboard. No, this was the episode where Lore was in control of a Borg colony, and he was trying to coerce Data to go join him. Um, and like almost all of the crew of the Enterprise D ends up on the planet, and like the Doctor is in command. That's who's left up there. It's Dr. Crusher running the Enterprise, while the whole crew hanging out on the planet going doing the questing thing. Yeah, that was an adventure. Um, so that's where I started with Star Trek Next Generation. And I was sold right away. I loved what I was seeing. I loved the characters immediately. I loved the environments. I loved the ship. It felt cool. Now, um, eventually, I did start seeing it on a more regular basis after that. For one thing, I started every week watching the new episode that showed up. Um, and I mean, well, I recycled that season and I watched each episode. And then it started showing up on every day on one of those channels, like Fox or WB or UPN or whatever they called themselves at the time. So I'd watch episodes of that day to day to day, then weekdays, and I got it all in more than a few times. And then I've watched on Netflix and stuff like that more than a few more times past that. Um, Now, I started in about season 5-ish, so I had where they already had their leg up when I started to watch it. Which meant I was probably a little more forgiving for the earlier stuff because I knew better stuff was on its way. Just I wanted more story, so I accepted the initial jumpsuit pajamas times before they were in more of a uniform look around. I think that was season 2 or 3. They switched the uniforms up. Um, I think the part that most confused me was beardless Riker. That almost doesn't seem right. He needs the face fuzz. That's part of his character. His character's like 90% beard, and the rest of it's sex symbol. In fact, even that's part of his sex symbol. Um, so yeah, Riker beard needed. Uh, the first season stories were kind of generic-y looking, rather bland. Um, but they got their ball rolling. That's the important part. Um, And as seasons rolled on, the stories kept getting better and better. The budget kept getting better and better, so things looked cooler. Um, the entire environment felt really fun to be in. You actually felt like you wanted to be on the bridge of the Enterprise D and like just chilling with them, cruising along in the intergalactic limousine that it was. Uh, it had so many good stories, so many good characters, so many good new species were introduced that weren't in the original series or the movies. So we had a lot of new interaction and old interaction with things like Klingons and Romulans and whatnot. They all came back. They all came back to the party. I mean, there wasn't a lot of Andorians, but you can't always give everybody love. Um, we got things like the Ferengi and the Cardassians showed up, and tons of other species that probably showed up for like one episode. But there were a lot of people to look at, a lot of fun stuff to happen, a lot of cool interactions. So, yeah, um, it may have been mostly models on strings for the spaceship scenes, but you didn't really notice it as much because they were really high quality models and um, really good basic CG modification. I'm not saying like the Hobbit level CG modification of people. I'm just saying the light end CG, where they just kind of blurred the lines of things, where they made things look a little nicer, where they green screened the ships into a cool environment, and added in moving backgrounds with space and stuff. Um, in fact, I'm surprised it is, looking back at it, models on strings effectively for how good it looks. I know they've redone some stuff over the years with other things, but I'm just really, really proud of what they did do with what they had. Especially after the first series, the original, was supposed to run for 5 years and it ran for like 2.5. And it got canceled. Then they made movies, and then those kind of ended. They're like, you know what? Let's just start over. Let's have a next generation happen, and that's where we are. Well, were, and it worked. Um, they had a lot of good characters, a lot of character development throughout the years. And this one ended up spawning movies as it closed. Similar, well, the original one kind of died and then movies showed up later. This ended with a big old special, like two-parter, kind of Days of Future Pasty, what the name was. And then they had a real finale for it. Star Trek Generations, the movie, where this crew got to be on the big screen and the graphics department earned all of their dollar bills that day. They got cool upgrades to every bit of detail. And they blew it up, literally. Uh, because in that episode, in that movie, they bust the Enterprise D up. They destroy it. It is dead. Dead, dead. Uh, this is followed up by their remaining movies. That was 7. So we had First Contact, Insurrection, and Nemesis after that. And they all involve the Enterprise E. So we kept the same basic crew, but we got a newer Enterprise for it too. So the next generation crew got to enjoy 2 Enterprises, one of which they completely blew up, one of which they muchly blew up several times, including dumping its warp core and blowing that up in Insurrection. Uh, Deflector dish got blown up uh, in First Contact, and it got pretty well crunched up at the end of Nemesis whenever they kind of rammed into the thing. So, that happened. Uh, but whenever they had thinking scenes, they were always good in all their episodes and movies and stuff. Whenever they had action scenes, they were pretty intense. Now, during the show itself, not in the movies, you never really got too much actual damage to their ship. I think that was probably due to budget and damaging the models. When it came to a movie, oh, there was no holds barred. You could bust things up. There could be chunks broken off of things, nacelles busting off and blowing up. Whatever we needed to do, we got you. We got the blow up budget here. So, if you want more in-depth, detailed boom action, head to one of their movies. You won't be disappointed. But I give Next Gen definitely a 100% rating. It's still not my favorite Star Trek. Deep Space Nine still does hold that rank. But Next Gen is probably really close number 2. Deep Space Nine, I felt, got up and running very quickly and got to where I felt it was really entertaining quickly. Next Gen kind of puttered along right at the beginning. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't amazing to start off. But once they got going with a vengeance. We had Borg. Several good episodes with them. Now, we did get a lot more Borg and Voyager, but kind of a different way of looking at them, being more they were in their space, less than their invading ours. It's a thing. So, did you watch Next Gen? Was it one of your favorite Star Treks? Did you really like any characters on there? I know Mr. Data and Mr. Wolf are really high on my favorite characters list there. Yeah. And, of course, Mr. Geordi LaForge, a.k.a. Mr. Reading Rainbow. He is awesome. Did a lot for my childhood, outside of this show even. Anyway, give me some comments of what you felt about the show yourself. I'd love to hear your opinions. But I definitely want to thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The little dingly bell makes YouTube happy and lets you know when I post new videos. And my Patreon link will be in the description below in case you're interested in supporting the channel. But for now, this little bunny is going to wish you all a thank you for watching and hope you have a bunny-rific, fluffy rest of your day. And I'll see you again on the next episode. Mwah!